Good morning. My name is Dr. John WorldPeace, and it's March the 23rd, 2015. And I'd like to speak a little bit about my reorganization of the Gospels of the New Testament. I call this the Third Millennium Gospel of Jesus Christ. Shorthand rendition is the World Peace Gospel. This is found in a website called the Purple Order of Spiritual Christians.com under the link The Gospel. What I've done is I've studied the Bible all my life. I'm a spiritual Christian, not a bureaucratic religious Christian. I believe in Jesus and the words of Jesus. I don't believe in the church. I think the church does a lot of good, but the authority is what Jesus said and what Jesus did, and not how the church operates. The church has a glass ceiling, the Catholic Church, against women priests. Jesus embraced women, and they followed him around, and I'm sure fed him and washed his clothes and so on and so forth. But the Gospels make several references that there was a crowd of women that were encamped wherever he went. So anyway, I'm a spiritual Christian, and what I've done is to reorganize the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and added in the Gospel of Thomas, which is not part of the official New Testament, but is a list of 113 alleged sayings of Jesus, large number of which, 40–50%, are in the official Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. All of these Gospels copied from each other. Mark was the first. They think. They don't really know who wrote these Gospels for sure, but Mark was the first Gospel. Mark was the son of a high-ranking, he was the son of a woman who was a high-ranking individual in the spreading of the news, the good news of Jesus. Matthew and Luke both took sayings from Mark, and Matthew was the Jewish representative, and Luke was basically the Gentile representative of the gospel story of Jesus to the Gentiles. Luke also wrote the Acts of the Apostles, which is the story of what happened after Jesus was crucified and rose from the dead. My opinion, first off, Jesus didn't establish any church. The Christian church today is the work of the Apostle Paul, and I believe that Matthew, Mark, and Luke were all disciples, followers, students of Paul, and their Gospels read somewhat the same. In my opinion, the Gospel of John, which was written not by the Apostle John, but allegedly, or per the scholars, was written by John the Elder in the year 100. I believe the prime mover in the Gospel of John was Mary Magdalene. The focus of the Gospel of John is much more of a personal witness, as opposed to some kind of format that I think had to do with Paul. Paul was an extremely intelligent man, a driven man, a dedicated man, but extremely intelligent, according to the Bible itself. There is a Gospel of Q, which the scholars believe there was a Gospel even before Mark, and that all the other Gospels drew from that original Gospel. Actually, when Jesus was crucified, nobody really knew what happened, in a sense. But anyway, the Gospel of Q is an attempt to take verses out of the other Gospels and create somewhat of an original Gospel that predates Mark, which was written in around 60-65 AD, which coincidentally was when Paul was crucified. I think when Paul was crucified, then the other Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, if Matthew, Mark, and Luke were in fact disciples of Paul, then when Paul was gone, they could take liberties and take what Paul taught them and what Paul was teaching and put their own spin on it. All this is just my belief of a lifetime of study. The Gospel of John, in all the Gospel, Jesus talks about, they talk about the beloved disciple and the disciple that Jesus loved, and I think those were two different individuals. One being John the Apostle, and the other being Mary Magdalene. But anyway, at any rate, what I did was take the Catholic Bible, Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, plus the Gospel of Thomas, took a pair of scissors, cut them apart, and put the repetitive sections about the miracles and the sayings and parables and so forth in a pile. I then put the reorganization in a chronological order from the Annunciation of John the Baptist to Jesus' Sermon on the Mount, which began his ministry, and then picked up again in chronological order from Jesus entering Jerusalem on Palm Sunday to the crucifixion and the resurrection. In the middle, the miracles, the sayings, the parables, I placed those, grouped those together, the miracles together, the parables together, etc. There is no real chronologic order as to when Jesus said any of those particular things. And there's repetition from each of the Gospels that I think makes the average reader have a little difficulty. It's not that user-friendly to read through 4 different stories about the same event. But there is some reason to do that, because you get a different perspective on the different authors. But I think it makes it confusing. I wanted it to read more like one long story and without the repetition. So I essentially reorganized. I didn't add anything, maybe a sentence, but didn't really rewrite anything. I just took the Gospels, cut them apart using the Catholic Bible, and which is a little bit more extensive than the Protestant Bible. Cut them apart, put them in a pile, reorganized them, and put them into the third millennium Gospel of Jesus. At any rate, I hope you read it. It's a great story. It's a story that 2 billion people take their faith in, and I hope I've made it a little more user-friendly. I have begun to read parts of it in on audio. Eventually the whole thing will be on audio, so when you come to certain sections, you can click the audio and listen to what is there. Thank you for your consideration. Have a good day.